Friday.
This is a battle you can't win.
Agent Mulder tracks a mysterious killer
He's gone.
to the most desolate place on Earth.
Lock torpedoes on target.
Now he'll come face to face.
Who are you?
With the most terrifying experience of his life. A brand new X-Files, Friday at 9, 8 Central.
Hey TV fans, Bored now back with you. On this video I'm going to be talking about the X-Files Season 2, Episode 17. The episode is called Endgame. Of course, the second part of the massive two-parter which started with Connolly, which I reviewed last week. I was very impressed with that episode. Definitely one of the best episodes of the show up to this point, and one of the big mythology style episodes. And this follows on from the big cliffhanger really, which was that the bounty hunter had taken on Mulder's form and he showed up at Scully's apartment. You've got Mulder ringing on the other end, and the woman claiming at least to be Mulder's sister had warned him that the bounty hunter was after her. This episode originally aired on February the 17th, 1995. It was directed by Rob Bowman, who has a pretty strong track record when it comes to the X-Files. Definitely someone who has directed some of the best episodes of the show and has done a few things when it comes to films and other TV shows. I know he worked on Star Trek Next Generation. Play was by Frank Spuderitz, I think you say it. Chris Carter also involved in the story, and it got a Nelson rating of 17.5, which is up from last week, which makes sense because it's on the back of a dramatic cliffhanger and a big dramatic episode, and it's got an IMDb rating of 8.7. Strong episode. Again, it's very intense. Again, there's lots of drama, lots of intrigue, couple of big dramatic moments, couple of really standout set pieces. I think it does stick the landing without quite being as good as the last one, and I'm not sure why. I think maybe the last one just felt like such a big game changer in some of the things it was doing. Then maybe this one, by comparison, was a little bit of a come down, but still a very good episode. And I think there's one or two story beats in this one which maybe feel, I don't know, either a little contrived or maybe just that they don't amount to that much. Maybe there could have been something a little bit more exciting coming out of there. Bamford does some more explaining to Mulder because he's still questioning her. He explains about the whole theory to do with the bees and the colony. He's gone after Scully and realised she's not there. Bamford says, well, he's taken her, but she's not dead because he wants me. Scully contacts them. Samantha is telling Mulder, I know how to kill him. And what I like partly about this episode is the misdirect, or this idea, then, as is revealed later on, we're not really sure how much of the truth she was telling Fox. Because when she's telling him, well, this is how you kill the guy, because again, it's to do with stabbing him in the back of the neck. Now, that's how we've seen him kill people, but it doesn't necessarily mean he can be killed, though. Claiming, yeah, that's the only way you can kill. Well, Skinner shows up at Mulder's door, and naturally Mulder's a little paranoid. At this point, he's not quite sure. Bounty Hunter could show up in anybody's form, so he's a bit suspicious of Skinner. It's another good tense scene when they're in the dark, and Skinner's not quite sure what's going on, and Samantha's right behind him, and she's got the weapon just in case she needs it, but she identifies that no, it's Skinner, it's not the bounty hunter. And once again, the urgency of Mulder is good in the scene because it really sells the stakes, where he says, he quickly says, "This is Samantha, my sister," but then says, "I don't have any time to explain. If we ever needed you, we needed you now." And he tells him about the proposed trade with Scully. So the idea is that they're going to pretend to make a trade, but then at the crucial moment, they've got like an FBI sniper on the bridge, and he's there, and the idea is he's going to shoot into the back of the bounty hunter's neck. So this scene on the bridge with them all waiting by and the standoff, it's one of the best set pieces of maybe the whole show, definitely up to this point. Like, it's just this really cool, tense standoff type scene. And once again, you're on the edge of your seat, like guessing exactly what is going to happen. Trade initially, and Scully goes back to her side. Skinner is on is at the side of the bridge with the guy who's going to make the shot. She goes for him because she's got a weapon of her own, and she goes for the neck, powers her, and again things are getting tense. And Mulder says there's nowhere to go. We've got the bridge covered. And things get out of hand. Mulder fires off a shot, and the bounty hunter and Samantha both end up in the river. Can't find Samantha's body, and they can't find the bounty hunters. And that's when Scully comes. She's discharged herself from the hospital. And once again, this is all good stuff, because first of all, it shows how important Scully has become to Mulder. Like, she's almost become as important as his sister. He's willing to risk, well, who he believes is his sister for Scully. And so it's a big thing, and it says something that Scully says, "Well, why didn't you tell me it was your sister?" Good moment when Scully questions, "Are you sure it was her?" And at that point, I think Mulder wants to believe it's her. Mulder actually has to go home and tell his father that, having only just got Samantha back, he's lost him, and it's, just so cut up, so emotional. The touch of him, he's about to say your sister, but then says Samantha. One complaint is that maybe this stuff escalated faster, maybe having just got Samantha back be a little bit rushed, than they do this whole thing with Scully and then he loses her again. And I don't know how you get around it. In some ways it could just be because of the X-Files being such an episodic show where they don't really want her hanging around too long in the storyline, because then you would have to explain, you would have to have her popping up in other episodes, or you would have to maybe explain why she wasn't in like the next episode and that kind of thing. So I understand that, but it may be, although I love the stuff on the bridge and I enjoy some of the drama that comes out of it, maybe I can see how it's a little bit of an anticlimax. The letter which Samantha has left him has this address for this abortion clinic. Sees someone who looks identical to his sister, or to Samantha, and then he sees another couple, and there's a whole room of them. Revealed that the whole thing with Samantha, with the other Samantha claiming to be his sister, was a ruse. It was a trick, and it was used really to throw off the bounty hunter, I'm assuming. And he's introduced to the first ever one of them, so they're all clones, and he meets the first ever one, and she says, "We can show you where your sister is." So that becomes in a way the driving force of the back half of the episode. Once Mulder finds out that who he met wasn't his sister, he then becomes even more determined to find his sister. So that's something which, so maybe if there is a slight frustration, it's partly that, then it's in some ways it's just a reset. The bounty hunter shows up, and once again he does his thing where he knocks Mulder out. It's a fire, so the idea is that he's killed off the other clones, because when Mulder wakes up, he's told there was no trace of them. So it appears as though he's killed off the other clones, he set the fire to cover his tracks, and him this kind of idea that, hey, your sister is out there. The one pretending to be his sister was this idea of how much was she telling him was the truth. Talking to the other clones, they're all poking holes and saying, yeah, then she probably wasn't telling the truth. He goes to X at one point to know like the location, and X does give him like that there is this submarine boarding and gives him a vague location, but he warns him really to stay away because he says this is one battle you can't win. Scully notices him missing and she asks Skinner, can we locate Agent Mulder through unofficial channels? During the autopsy of the dead FBI agent, which we get like a report from Scully in the middle of the episode, and again it shows that she's very much still within reason doing things within the book and just reporting on the facts really, because she says in her report there's no evidence back up Agent Mulder's claims to do with the clones, to do with aliens, that kind of thing, which is true, but then the murder of the FBI agent had pinned on bounty hunter, so that's all fair enough. An autopsy on the dead FBI agent, and it's revealed that he's got a special virus, a special sort of toxin, which kills you if your body heats up. If your body heats up, having been cold. Scully says it's a bit like what happened to Samantha, because they do pull Samantha out of the river. Her body evaporates into the green sort of slime. She goes to Skinner, says, can we find him through unofficial channels? Skinner doesn't want to play ball because he says what Mulder is doing is against FBI protocol. If he wanted you involved, he would have contacted you. Scully puts up the X. And I do enjoy this stuff with Scully, where she is starting to like act how Mulder would, and starting to like go through some of the things he would do if he was around. So it's almost like Mulder isn't around, and I'm running out of options, so I do need to try and go through unofficial channels, something he's more than happy to do, but she normally isn't. Shows up, and this is a fun little touch, because when she answers the door, because she's in Mulder's apartment, so that's really smart. Like, she's actually suckered him in that way, because he's just assuming that it's Mulder. So as soon as he sees her answer the door, he's like, oh, I'm sorry, wrong apartment. And she pursues him and says, you know, I need your help, where's Mulder? And he's obviously talking in this very calm, discreet manner, and he's saying things like, sorry, I cannot help you. And that's when Skinner shows up, and he's like, he meets him at the elevator and says, did you tell what she needed to know? And at first he's playing like coy once again. Skinner and X get into a full-on fight, and once again it's Skinner showing that he will go the extra mile and put it all on the line for his agent. Full-on fight. It's another great scene, another tense scene. And it's just a fun, like, different way of doing things, because you know that probably somehow Scully is going to get the information of where Mulder is, but it's just a very different way of doing it, and I think it's really cleverly done. Skinner coming back to Scully's door all bloodied and tells him where Mulder is, like he caught a flight to such and such. So then we go to Mulder at this submarine, and he finds that it's deserted except for one person. He claims and came aboard, trapped a lot of the crew under the deck, like down below, but then the rest of them he just killed. So Mulder's like, well, how did you survive? And he says he played dead, and he laid under the body of one of the captains. And Mulder being so like suspicious pays off, because we then find out that it is the bounty hunter. Episode, and the back half of the episode just sells so well how obsessed Mulder is, how determined he still is, and how what happened with the clones and on the bridge makes him more determined than ever to find Samantha. And that's what he's demanding. Where is she? And once again, Brian Thompson is doing like a great performance. Like his reactions. Is that information worth you dying? And he's got a really cool villain type line out at one point. She's still alive, and now can you die? And he releases the toxins onto Mulder, and Mulder is dumped outside onto the snow. There's this cool sort of visual of the ship, sort of like, I'm not sure why. I think it's meant to be like an alien type ship. I think that's the idea, even though it's like a submarine. But there's just this cool visual of the ship, and the ship like descending and leaving. Mulder was rushed to the Miratelli hospital, and Scully comes in, and they've got him in the bath. And that's where the whole thing comes into play and connects about the virus. If anything, you need to stay cold, demanding get him out the tub. Like, and eventually they agree, and he's out the tub, gives him some shot. They readjust his vitals. Mulder has a pretty good line to end the episode, because Scully says, "Did you find what you're looking for?" And he says, "No, but I found something which I'd forgotten about. And that is faith to keep looking." And it's just a good line. And, you know, faith and things like that is quite a big thing in the X-Files. I think people forget that. But so that's the episode. It's another really strong episode. It's not quite as good as Colony, because I think that is a really strong, exceptional episode. But I do think it's very good still, and a nice follow-up episode, and they do work well as a two-part also. So I'm going to give Endgame 8 out of 10. I realise I gave Conley like 8. I think I gave that an 8. I can go a bit higher, because that episode is really strong. So I think I'll bump that up to an 8.5. So an 8 for this one. MVP of the episode, I think I'll give it to Scully. There's a few contenders. I could give it to Skinner because of the beat with him and X. Like, that scene was like another standout scene, and just his involvement. But I guess he is a little bit in and out of the episode. It is a good Skinner episode, but I think I'll give MVP of the episode to Scully. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe as always. Share me out on social media. You can support the channel for just $1 a month on patreon.com/boardnow, or you can sign up for channel memberships, and I'll link that in the description. But keep watching X-Files, keep watching TV. I'll see you guys again soon.